We're now moving on to our panel discussion from visionary to builder. As a moderator, we have Farah Ismail, founder and executive coach. She's a global executive coach and leadership facilitator, and the first certified box facilitator in Bangalore. With over 25 years of experience across industries and cultures, Farah creates spaces that spark fresh thinking, courage, and transformational growth. Her strength lies in unlocking human potential, empowering leaders to step forward with clarity and drive meaningful change. On our speaker panel, we have Kavita Kadari, the Vice President of Engineering at Storable, the leading technology strategy and product delivery for the RV and camping vertical. With over 20 years of experience building products and guiding global teams through major tech shifts, she's deeply committed to modernizing how organizations build and deliver technology. Kavita brings her insights on leading through change and how curiosity and collaboration can make transformation truly meaningful. We also have Ashfaq Sheikh, an engineering leader and champion of open source innovation, driving the next wave of technology at Broadridge. His work has earned global recognition, including a spot on the Forbes Blockchain Top 50. And he's helped build one of the world's most trusted digital settlement platforms. Ashfaq leads with curiosity, clarity, and a passion for helping people learn and grow. Jayashree Sundaresan, a TEDx speaker, mentor, and strong advocate for diversity and community growth. She too has over 25 years of global experience as a technology and operations leader. As Senior Director of Engineering at Freshworks, she leads high-impact teams, strengthens operations, and builds products that truly serve customers. And Shefali Bansal, the Global Engineering Director at Red Hat, leading the growth of OpenShift engineering teams around the world, a dynamic technology leader and a member of the Bangalore Leadership Council. She brings over 2 decades of experience across product engineering, strategy, and emerging tech. So it's over to Farah to steer this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Please, let's get seated. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Wow, I was just doing a pulse check of the energy in the room. So, can we try that once again? If you can just say good afternoon in any language, when I say 1, 2, 3, shall we try that? 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon. All right. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you so much for choosing to be in this room today. It's such a powerful choice you have made. So what we are going to explore in the next 41 and 18 seconds, 41 minutes, is this topic, which is from builder to visionary. And you're going to hear from this panel, the amazing leaders here, about how they made this transition. And this transition is not because they had this perfect roadmap, but because they chose to be courageous, they chose to move beyond functional excellence to strategic influence. I have one promise for you. Shall I make the promise? That it's very simple. The next 40+ minutes, you will hear real stories. You will hear practical strategies that will really enable you to take your leadership to the next level. So are you excited to get started? But I have to share that to make the most of the next 40+ minutes, I want to invite you to do something different. I want you to get a black belt in listening. And here's the kind of lens, 3 lenses I'd like you to listen to this panel. And the lens is what, so what, now what. The what, I'd like you to listen to what were some turning points, what were some decisions or shifts that each of the leaders here made in their journey. So listen for that keenly. So what is, what did they bust? What are some beliefs that they shifted? What changes did they make to enable this journey for themselves? And so what is, what do you now see as their leadership stance? What are some leadership competencies that they have embraced and that you can actually decide to take on for yourself? That's the third one, second one. And the third, now what, is for you to hold this question closely, which is, what seems possible for me today? As I listen to this amazing conversation, what are some shifts that I can make? And so listen to that keenly and take the context of your role currently, or your context in your world, or what are the next season of your leadership. So choose to listen from that sense. So 3 lenses of listening. Would you be able to do that? Shall we begin? All right. So I'm going to start with the first question. And I'm going to invite everybody on the panel to take this question. And I'd like you to also answer this. You know, as you listen to this, think that we are having this conversation as well. So the first question is, when you hear the phrase from being builder to visionary, what is the first thing that comes to your mind with relation to your own personal journey? And if you can use like one sentence or a metaphor or an image to describe that. So would you like to begin?
So I think I would say from sowing seeds and removing weeds to growing thick forest, lush green forest.
Okay, you're catching that, I hope. That's a powerful metaphor from nature. Ashfaq, you want to go next?
What comes to my mind is a image of snow-capped mountains. Looking at the mountain gives you that understanding of how vast things are and how less you know about things.
Yeah.
The more you trek on it, the more you learn.
All right, Kavita, what would you use to describe this phrase?
I think for me, I used to be like, give me a problem, so, I can solve you anything for you, right? So the shift from I can execute, you ask me to do, to asking a question about, we even be doing this? Why are we doing this?
Okay,
It's that shift.
okay, a huge shift, okay. And what about you?
All right,
Jayashree?
so the image that I will offer is from being a singer on stage to conducting the entire orchestra. Like that's the journey for builder to, visionary.
Yeah, look at that. Those are such powerful images. I think from nature to, as you said, snow-capped mountains. And so when I think about this image, for me, I think in images, very creative in my thinking, so it's always something to do with a metaphor. For me, I see it like a mountain with no top. And that's the image I have, that we're constantly, breaking the next ceiling and making it our floor. So the mountain never ends. So I love that we have dived into the topic slowly. And thank you. These are such powerful images that you've all shared. And I'm thinking that they all didn't come from a moment of comfort. They come from somewhere within, which will also take us to a moment that has shifted something for you. So I thought we'll begin by looking at that, the moment when everything shifted. And I'd love you to think about it as you're listening. Do you resonate with each one's story, and try to go back memory lane to see what is that moment when you shifted your perspective about something or this topic from being a builder to a visionary. So let's start with you, Kavita. When you look back at your career from CDK Global to Thomson Reuters to now being the Vice President of Engineering at Storable, what was one defining moment that changed the way you saw yourself, not just as a strong executor, but as a visionary leader?
Yeah, Farah, I think the defining moments normally are very quiet, right? Instant, like where you realize, you are no longer thinking about just planning for today, but it's more about reshaping the future. So, my moment goes back to maybe 10 years ago. I was in an organization leading an engineering team, happy, like, everybody is happy with, I was a manager, and then, I was responsible for a region, like, it is a global company, and my responsibility was more towards, you deliver for this region, part of the system, and, we were meeting all the goals, targets, on time, quality, everything, everyone is happy, my team is happy. And then I attended a conference. It's a user group conference we used to call, where we invite all the users, global users, where, they talk about different things. That was my first time attending that kind of a conference. And I entered there with an assumption, I will have list of feature enhancements or something like that from the customers. I'll just get those back and start implementing. But when I started listening to the conversations and what customers were talking about, were completely different things. And the two most important things I still remember, which I always remember, are the first one, they were not talking about a part of the system or not even one system in isolation. They were talking about their entire tech ecosystem in their organization. And where would this particular system fits, and how all of that need to connect together well for them to operate successfully as a business. Second thing, I was working for a particular region, focusing on that, versus there were so many inconsistencies, whether the way we were building product or the way we were delivering, or the processes were so different that being global customers, because they are global organizations, it was very challenging them to, work through these differences. And that was like, for me, I realized I was so focused on just making things better for my area and my region, and I actually forgot to think about the big picture. I never realized there is a big picture behind it, right? When I came back from that conference, my whole thought process changed. It's not like somebody gave me a visionary role or a title, but my thinking about how I need to be now looking at things, right? Or how I will be working with my team or stakeholders, everything has changed. I started now asking different questions. I started asking now about, like, do we really need to do this? Like, where would it fit in? I started talking to teams which I never knew about or I never spoke to them. Different teams in different regions, internally or external stakeholders, trying to understand what is the tech landscape look like for this kind of a user, and started, like, working on those kind of solutions. So, going back to your question, that is something which, forever stays with me, because I keep going back and giving that example even to my teams wherever I go.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I heard a breakthrough. And the breakthrough she had was being in a room of possibilities. So I'd like you to think about which rooms do you go to currently that you allow yourself to be in a room where something can expand for you and it can change something forever. And I'm hearing that you did that. You had this shift in your thinking and you didn't need a title to believe that you can create that. I found that really powerful. So what a powerful breakthrough. Thank you so much, Kavita. Catch all this gold, and I'm hoping that we have some time at the end of this panel discussion for some questions, okay? Shifali, from IBM to Red Hat, your journey has been fascinating. You were really happy being in this engineering manager world until one decision shifted everything. What do you think was the catalyst for that move? And why do you now see it as a turning point in your life?
So this question kind of takes me back 10 years like her. so I've been a long-term IBMer. I was part of the labs. I was leading teams for their WebSphere portfolio. We had just taken ownership of newer area. I was happy to see how do I grow that part of the portfolio and bring in more efficiencies and get the ownership and transfer of the portfolio done. So was happy in my role, and so there was nothing like a dissatisfaction, which kind of I have to look out for some change or make pivots in the work that I was doing. And then this thing happens, which was sudden, unexpected, and which was like an invitation to kind of really take on something which will drastically change my role scope. And very interestingly, this was an opportunity to kind of take on a role which is called as chief of staff role. And that role, I was not even kind of aware existed till it was asked to me to kind of take on that role by my leaders and vice president. And the interesting part of this role was that I never realized that I am fit for that role, but my leaders saw the potential and they brought the role. So it was like something where sometimes the key takeaway from my pivot here is that sometimes we ourselves are not sure of our skills and the potential that we are carrying, but then others are seeing, they're observing. And when this opportunity came in, I was, as expected, like it was taken by surprise, but then when I understood that this role is kind of a stepping stone for executive roles down the line, I decided to kind of take this on. But was it transformative? It was. It was very uncomfortable. It's like you're moving from an ecosystem where you're trying to work through a product and trying to work through those ecosystem of players to a ecosystem where you need to kind of really understand how the operations in an organization work, how the strategy gets defined, who are the customers for the portfolio of products that IBM Software Lab had. So the thing which was the first thing which made me very uncomfortable about it is from a management, I became an individual contributor. So that was like, oh, I don't have a team. Now it was all about influence, because now you're working with a lot more senior people and you're the junior most trying to make things happen for the executives. So the lot of new skills I had to build, and this confidence or clarity that my builder persona, which was my strength, can actually do it, actually happened when I took on this role. So by understanding the nuances of the business, doing this 180-degree shift from my current role to this role was the pivotal moment which gave me the confidence that, yes, I think I have in me to kind of take on bigger roles. But till then, I think I was like happy in my own small little world. So I think I do want to add two things here. The decision at that point was definitely difficult, but as I reflect back, it was a pivotal moment which set the stone for greater things. And I do want to give gratitude to the leaders who looked into me that there is a potential. So all the leaders out there, look out for the talent in your teams to kind of grow them. So that was it.
Beautiful, beautiful. As I listen to you, Shefali, I'm hearing that, you know, if someone is there in your life to spot your potential, that is also a beautiful, beautiful point in our careers. And I always say that sometimes, you know, mostly for women, when we don't see or wake up to our potential, I always tell them that the world sees your potential even before you claim it. So I think our journey is constantly looking within to look at, and if we don't have that awareness, then someone else is there to hold a mirror for you. I love that, you know, the shift that you created for yourself and the possibilities from that. I wonder if you've had moments like that in your life where you have been given this opportunity to take on something bigger, bolder, to step into playing, a different game that you're playing in your career. And take a moment to reflect. What has been your approach for that? How have you shifted or stepped into it with audacity, or even with fear, but allowing the fear to be in the back seat? I'm already loving the stories. Are you loving these beautiful, pivotal moments? Tell us. Show us in some way. Yes? All right. So let's go to Ishfaq. Firstly, I'm fascinated by your LinkedIn, how you describe yourself. So this is for you to go to his LinkedIn. You've been 14 years in Broadridge Financial Solutions. It's a global tech leader. And I think what I'm noticing about you is there's a lot of curiosity and questions fascinate you. So I'm wondering, has there been a moment in your life when a question has been so pivotal that it has pushed you to play bigger or dream bigger? Is there something like that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Questions form all of us. So whatever personalities that we have today, right? So those are not our innate personalities. Those have been shaped and molded by the questions that have been posed to you. I have a lot of cousins, and then from those particular cousins, I have a lot of nephews and nieces. I love them. They are my world. And I am the proud title holder of world's coolest uncle. Okay, so anything that their parents forbid from their doing, so I'm the guy. And I also like carry on my shoulders the very heavy burden of being the only adult in a WhatsApp group, which is full of teenagers right now. Okay, and then I mean they are my meme suppliers and all of that stuff. So just imagine, I started my career like anyone out there. I just completed my studies, joined Microsoft, did something, and then did a sabbatical, and then took something else, etc. Life was going on good. And one thing that all of my nephews and nieces look forward for is when I visit my hometown, I just cram them into my car, and then we sneak out for a midnight ice cream. Okay, we make a guy open his shop, have ice cream, and then sneak back into their houses, and their parents wouldn't even know. All well and good. So one fine day, so we do this, and then it's 1 a.m. in the night, and then I'm dropping my 8-year-old niece, the final stop, and then I go and sleep. She's sitting on the passenger seat, and she asks me a question. Not an actual question, but she makes a statement. Chachu, I want to be like you when I grow up. I was driving, and
She
I
means
froze.
sneaking out for ice cream.
Absolutely. For her, it's that, right? For her. But then again, if you take a look at it from a child's perspective, right? So she looks at me as someone that she can look up to help her things, of course, for an ice cream, or of course, for doing something very weird, okay? I froze at that particular moment, and then what ran in my mind is, why would an 8-year-old child want to be like me? Okay, and this 8-year-old child is going to grow into a teenager, and then grow into her 20s. So what is her perspective going to be at that particular time? Because she is no longer thinking about ice cream right now. That is where it clicked for me. What exactly is my legacy? Yes, I'm doing a job, I'm building something that I'm proud of. But is there something that I can be really proud of and make them look up to that? So that was a defining moment for me, if you put it that way. And that day, what I started doing was I started having very hard introspections about what I do, what I want to do, and how much of what I want to do is for myself versus how much is it for leaving a legacy out there. And that has been a very transformative experience for me, at least, because by doing that, right, I've been able to build my own business unit, been able to help people with their careers, help with my own career, to be honest. And in this particular journey, I've understood that what matters the most is building that particular community around you, well-wishers around you, friends around you, and then aspiring and inspirational souls around you. And that's what shaped my life. And I'm very grateful to Zunera, my 8-year-old niece at that particular time, to actually like opening my eyes and giving me that particular viewpoint of what life is. It's not just about paycheck to paycheck.
I promised you real stories, and this is such a interesting one way back, you know, with an 8-year-old, and a statement that was catalytic for you to think about what's your legacy and, you know, ask different questions of yourself. And I remember, you know, a time when my coach actually shared a distinction, which was between being taught worthy versus being caught worthy. What I mean is that the way you lead is in such a way that people who observe the way you are leading, they're able to catch it, get inspired by it, and probably take on few things that you do. So one of my aspirations, you know, since that shifted for me was, I don't want to teach someone how to do something. It's really about me, how do I model it so I become caught worthy as a leader, as a coach. And so I'm getting that from your story is like, really it's living a way in which you're caught worthy, starting with your family. And of course, I know you have a huge influence now with what you've created at the company. So let's go to you, Jayashree. Across your engineering leadership roles at PayPal and Freshworks, what part of your inner story did you have to rewrite or probably change the narrative to leap from execution focused to a more vision focused leadership?
All right. I think in my younger days, my value came from doing. Still is in a lot of ways, but mostly it's not all about that. I equated contribution with action, whether it was fixing a bug, you know, staying up till midnight, or working weekends to meet a project deadline, or stepping in when my team felt like, you know, they were stuck, or wanting to be this person that, you know it all and do it all, right? It really felt heroic. It felt safe. It felt very comfortable. And then I realized, it was a painful realization, that that wasn't going to get me from becoming, you know, a visionary to getting into those, you know, bigger rooms and bigger roles. And this actually came through a moment in my career at PayPal where I had a one-on-one with my CIO after a major project execution that was super successful. And you know, he sat me down and basically, you know, offered me congratulations and really appreciated me for getting a job really well done. And he said, Jayashree, you're really trustable, dependable, reliable all the time. If we ask you to run to the top of a peak and plant a flag, we know you're going to do it, and you will do it really well. But I want you to stop and turn around and look down and see if you've caused any casualties, right? So he basically says, in the process of wanting to be really fast and wanting to get things done, wanting to get to the finish line, see if you're causing these kind of, you know, hurts, right? And he basically said, slow down, teach people, you know, take them along. So that truly became a defining moment of how I changed the narrative inside me, how I approached what I did, how I dealt with people. The shift inside my head became, I must move really fast to I move people forward. I must know all the answers to I must create leaders around me who will have better answers than mine. I must fix everything to I will create spaces for people to be able to not even have those problems to begin with. So I think the journey from, you know, builder to visionary starts when you start letting go of tools that you truly use to prove yourself over and over again, and have that ability to let go of what is not helping you, what is holding you back, so that you can shift inside your head from I must build to I am creating spaces for people to come and build together.
You don't need permission to clap. I got inspired by that as well, and I'm just thinking how important it is to, I think change is a door that needs to be opened from the inside, and that's what I'm hearing, that whole shift of, from a narrative that you had to shifting to something that was more empowering is really beautiful. And, I'm hearing that being in spaces like that really enables you to dream bigger, build bigger spaces, and I'm just really excited about the themes that have come out from this initial conversation, from global exposure, being in rooms that make a difference, bold internal moves, questions that shape you, questions that you ask yourself about what's your legacy, and rewriting your own stories. Like, I'd like to invite you to think, what is a chapter you want to write as you step into 2026? We're around the corner, and change the game that you're playing. So I think looking at the time, let's go, just go quickly into going a little deeper. So I love diving a little deeper. So let's just go with that. And I'll start with you, Jayashree. You have been called a fearless risk taker. Imagine having that. I love that that fearless thing, because a lot of time I used to call myself fearless Farah, until I realized that I'm not fearless. I just fear less. And so, but I love that fearless risk taker. What helped you to grow your influence without losing your authenticity, your authentic voice?
So yeah, I've been called that throughout my career, and I've realized that it does resonate a lot with me. And it's actually about it's not about not having fears, but having a very clear process of how do you identify that fear and then how do you overcome it. And this is the process I follow. And some of my friends in the audience have probably heard it from me, but I'll share it for the benefit of everybody. Whenever I feel like I'm held back by my own fear of failure or fear of judgment, one of the questions that I ask myself is, what's the worst that can happen? And when you ask that question to yourself, answer it, because you're talking to yourself, answer it truthfully. And when you answer it truthfully, you will realize that it's actually at a surface level, because you're still not opening up to yourself. And when you have that surface level answer, ask the next question, so what? Like Farah said, right? You're going to get another answer. Ask again, so what? So keep repeating this loop, like peeling the layers of an onion, until you really face that real truth in front of you. What is that fear that's truly holding you back? And once you have that answer, funnily enough, you're going to realize it's actually not so bad. It's not as bad as you imagined in your head to begin with. And once you have that, you know that you can actually overcome it. You can plan for it. You can mitigate it. You can ask for help. You can do so many things to figure out. Or you can just you can make peace with it, saying, you know what, it's okay. If this is what is holding me back, I'm still going to go ahead and do it, right? Going through that process truly, truly unravels the fear into something not so monstrous to something a little more, that you can deal with. Now, the second part to this whole aspect is to be truly vulnerable and authentic. And as my influence expanded, I realized that we human beings, it's actually a very attractive thing to be authentic and to be vulnerable. We can actually pick on it very easily when somebody is being genuinely authentic and somebody is being vulnerable, right? So as my influence expanded, I found myself in bigger rooms, in rooms where there were senior leaders, in rooms where there were big decisions were being made, in rooms where more often than not, like many of us do, I questioned myself, do I really belong here, right? I think we all go through that inside our head. And in these rooms is where I felt a little pressured to sound strategic, to sound polished, to sound like an expert. And in these rooms is where I felt a little bit tempted to mimic other people, how they behaved, how they carried themselves. And then very early on, I made a decision that no, it might look good, but it won't feel good or it won't feel right. I decided that I'm going to be unapologetically me. And when I made that decision, in those rooms, I stated what I saw. When I saw something as a problem, I called it out. When I saw someone as a problem, I pointed it out gently, figured out ways to work around it. The more I did that, I practiced it again and again and again. The more I did that, I saw that something in the room shifted. I saw that influence became not the loudest voice in the room, but it became the clearest, sometimes vulnerable, and more often than not, the most authentic voice. And influence, as my influence, grew in whatever I was able to impact, it became less about becoming a bigger someone, but more about becoming deeply myself. And so that is what I would share.
I love that vulnerability, and I would recommend you to listen to my favorite mentor and author, Brené Brown, and she talks about this, that it's not fear that gets in your way, it's your armor. So my journey has always been removing some of these armors, and that's the work that I've been doing. And I sense that's what you're talking about, that you were slowly removing some of the armors. I'm looking at that watch and I'm thinking it's 8.5 minutes. And when there's journeys that have been such beautiful journeys, the stories become so deep and interesting. So I'm not sure if we can get questions in the end, but I'd like to invite you to have a conversation with us if you have any. I'm hoping that we can, but I just want to set that up. And for the rest of the panel to just keep an eye on this. Ashfaq, let's go with you. You are redefining how financial markets work, and it's staggering, knowing what you're achieving. What is the key lesson that you have learned as you paved your path with this whole team of dreamers that you work with, misfits and dreamers?
Oh yeah, so that's my favorite topic. So in 2 words, very simple. Yeah, those are the 2 words. Everything is very simple. We just make things complicated. You just need the right perspective to look at it. So when you look at things, right, the first thing that you see is this a puzzle? But look at it from a different perspective. It looks like a puzzle to you. Why? Because you don't have the prerequisite information that is needed for you. I work in capital markets. I work with numbers day in and day out. How many people here love numbers? How many people here love mathematics? I see Arpita not raising her hand. See, the thing is this. Sometimes we tend to love things that we do, and then we form kind of a very hedonistic affair with that particular thing, saying that, hey, you know what, this is what I love and this is what I want to do. And you just keep everything else aside. You don't look around. Capital markets is like that. For the financial markets, right, the financial markets have not seen a change for the last 150 years. Yes, a lot of things have changed, but the way the economy works globally has not changed much. So T+5, T+4, T+2, T+1, all of those things. So today we can just go ahead and make your payments using UPI. Real-time settlements are there, but that does not work on high gross settlements, which is what we as a company do. Why? When I ask the question why, in any boardroom out there, in any room of influence out there, the only answer I received all the time was, it's very complicated. But if you take a look at it, right, why is it complicated? It's complicated, why? Because the prerequisites have not been like charted out. And what's a better way to deal with your life rather than going on an adventure in the uncharted territory? Figure out the prerequisites. And that is what I did. For me, being on an adventure, I am a kid with a credit card. As simple as that. I want to be on an adventure all the time. Every single question that is posed to me is an adventure. Every single unknown that I look in front of me is a mountain that I want to trek on. So, on the capital market side, right, when you look at it from that particular perspective, amazing things can happen. And that is what we have done. I mean, if people check out my LinkedIn, right, I keep placing posts on what has been done, some of the revolutionary things that we are doing, etc. All of those are possible only and only because if you are able to influence people to think from the perspective of it's very simple, then the answer will start evolving by itself. And for any kind of coaches, for any kind of mentors out there, ensure that your mentees and your coachees, right, so they understand that it's not a problem. It's just something that they don't know. Just figure out the understanding and then you'll be able to do wonders. And that's what has been working out for me at least. And if it has worked for me, it will work for you and it will work for everyone. And trust me, by instilling that particular notion of viewing things from a different perspective, you would have done a great amount of service to that particular person's career because now they'll look at a different thing.
Simplicity, I think that's going to be my word of the year next year, I'm not sure. But I have had that thought that, the biggest challenge in our thinking is, our biggest challenge is in our thinking, and especially if you bring complexity in it. So drop the easy and hard, and it's not easy, but it's going to be simple. That's how I look at it. Thanks. Let's shoot to the next question. Shefali, you have grown businesses, taken on cross-functional roles, and transformed your own health, a very powerful book that you've written, and your identity. What is a mindset or skill that helped you wear both these hats with ease? And if you can share one thing from that.
Sure. So there's a health journey topic, which probably is a longer topic. We'll cover it offline if anybody's interested. So I moved from a chubby Shefali to what I am in last 10 years. So that's the journey she's referring to. But coming back to the topic around what has helped to kind of wear the hat of strategy as well as execution at ease. I'll probably break this up into two parts. Women in general, when it comes to execution, they are inbuilt project managers from the start. It comes very naturally to women because they've been handling complex challenges at home, at work, anywhere around, and they'll fix it. But when we look at, if we have to scale on an execution, we certainly have to look at, in my opinion, 3 areas which kind of help to strengthen the execution muscle. One is, I think Ashwak did talk about, Jayashree talked, when we are working on any project, it's important to be aware of why we are doing something and where we want to go and what are our tangible outcomes that we want to drive. So I think having visibility to that kind of just makes things very easy. The other aspect I see, if we have to wear and strengthen our execution muscle, is remain tech savvy. So I kind of, whichever role you are in, be a developer role, be a manager role, or be an executive role, it's important that you remain close to the technology because that helps ask right questions and challenge the assumptions. Because a lot of time, you cannot be taken for a ride if you are kind of closer to the technology side of things. The third dimension, I would say, is take the people along. I think Jayashree said it very well. So having a radical empathy factor with you is very critical. People are your currency. You can't do it alone. So it's important that when you are in any career, be it even at home, you have to take your maid and cooks and everybody along to get the work done. So taking people along is a very important aspect. And one thing which is very important is no work is less work. When you have to get the things done, if it requires you to do a small little work to paint the shop, paint the shop. So I think these 3 dimensions are important when we have to build from an execution strength. When it comes to strategy, and I have typically seen, I don't want to generalize it, but a lot of people struggle to kind of see ahead, have a visionary outlook. For some people, it comes very innate, but it is something which can be cultivated. And one of the things which kind of helps is remaining a growth mindset person, be aware of what's happening around technology, about customers, around ecosystem. That is one thing which will always keep you ahead of the curve to be able to see ahead. The other dimension is bring the voice of the customer. A lot of times in conversations, there's a lot of noise around, should we do this? Should we do that? A lot of internal politics. But then when we kind of talk about what the customers really want, a lot of conversations become straightened up. People start to focus on what's important. So having visibility, talking to the customers, what the needs are, what the unsaid needs are. So that is another dimension I would suggest. And the third thing is the connector hat. So a lot of time, it's very important to have the courage to be able to connect some of the weaker links with what you are seeing, what your gut is saying, and be able to kind of bring this all together and paint the future is a secret weapon the visionaries have. So it's not that you cannot do it, but it's a weapon. For some, it comes very innate, but it is something which can certainly be developed. So those would be my 6 attributes for execution and strategy.
Thank you. You've already got all the strategies that I was promising you at the start. I'm going to go to the last question, and I'm going to invite you, Kavita, to share. And this is really important. What did you have to unlearn to actually move ahead in your journey?
Thanks, Farah, for asking this. I know, there's not a lot of time left, but I just want to quickly touch upon this because this is very important thing. Everybody talks about learn new things like, to grow, but unlearning is equally or even more important. I think already, Shefali, Jayashree covered some of those. One of the things early on in my career, I was a control freak. Everything has to go by me, right? It's not about just not having confidence in others, but it's more about having more confidence on me or maybe overconfidence in me, right? Because I can't be everywhere when I'm growing, right? So building that next level, mentoring, building successors, so that is one. The second thing was reactive to preventive approach. When you are solving problems, the problem happens, you are there to solve it, right? That has been the approach. But that won't work, right? You have to start thinking about how do I even prevent this from happening? That's a big thing. Unlearning what I was doing earlier in terms of the reactive nature and the approach itself for the problem solving. The third and most important thing is I was so much relying on certainty. I have answers for everything. I go with a plan, right? But when you are growing and in visionary roles, there are more questions than answers. You have to ask the right questions, get the strategy and vision in place, and you will have to let go of that certainty. You have to learn to deal with ambiguity. So I think these are the 3, at least, there are many, but at least these are the top 3 things I always remember.
I think for me, the lesson is run towards discomfort. That's where the biggest growth is. So thank you for sharing that. And we've come to the end. As I said, we might not have time, so I want to invite you to catch us anywhere in the room. If there's one word or one thing, a piece of advice that you want to share to all the women and a few men in this room, if they want to make this transition, just one mantra for success.
It'll
Really
have to
quickly.
be short, Farah.
One
We're
word,
really exceeding our time limit.
one phrase.
Please.
I would say invest in your personal board of directors, which includes the coaches, the mentors, the buddies, who will keep you honest and help you grow.
Thank you.
Give yourself the permission and freedom to fail again and again and again.
Nuances of English language. Visionary is not a singular term, it's a plural term. So build a community around yourself.
Community.
Don't wait for the role or somebody to ask you and come join the visionary discussions. Just take action, you go and yourself become that visionary.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I hope you had some great insights. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farah, Kavita, Ashfaq,
Thank you.
Jayashree, and Shefali. We've got little goodie bags for you, and we'd like to also get the jurors for your group to come up and join you for a photograph. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.